Is Damian Priest about to embark on a face turn and be kicked out of Judgment Day? The Queen of the Ring tournament continues. There was another cryptic QR code. Do we have the answers for you? And are we going to see a bloodline civil war again in the King of the Ring final, which could pave way for a debut and a return? We're all going to get into that and more on the Raw report on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Now, we just said a minute ago how we believe that Damian Priest could be about to embark on a face turn and be kicked out of the Judgment Day. Now, on Raw this week, it actually started, funnily enough, with Damian Priest, and he's got a new opponent or a new enemy in his sights, in that which is formed of Drew McIntyre. Now, interestingly enough, these two look set to face off. Could it be as soon as the King and Queen of the Ring tournament in Saudi Arabia next weekend? I very much doubt it's going to be Clash at the Castle, unless, of course, CM Punk could perhaps insert himself into that match or cost Drew the championship at Clash at the Castle. That could be a possibility. But Damian Priest sort of going after Drew McIntyre is kind of, weird. Two heels, basically. I mean, McIntyre's a bit of a tweener, but in effectively two heels. I don't know about this. I feel as if Damian Priest could be about to change to go to face and perhaps be kicked out of the Judgment Day. It's very, very soon indeed if they're going to go at it with McIntyre. It just seems a very weird time for Damian Priest to sort of cut that promo, cut it on Drew with McIntyre there as well. McIntyre was seemingly had his hands full with CM Punk. So this just feels a bit weird. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you guys can enlighten us. Does Damian Priest get kicked out of the Judgment Day, or is Damian Priest turning face in the very near future? I will put that question to you. I do have the answers to the questions I put last week, so thank you all very much for doing that. Even the one I asked today about what did you think of Monday Night Raw. So we will get into that in a minute. But Drew called Damian Priest a paper champion as well on this segment. But I do wonder, is this Damian Priest's time to turn face, and will he be kicked out of Judgment Day? We'll have to wait and see. Now, the Queen of the Ring tournament kicked off. That was the first match of Raw. Very match heavy Monday Night Raw again. 3 solid hours of around 7 or 8 matches. Io Sky did pick up the victory over Shayna Baszler in the second round as she moves on to the semi-finals. That will be aired next week on Monday Night Raw. So how I know now, I know the brackets, and I also know that it's going to be a Raw and SmackDown, Raw v SmackDown final in both. So I expect a winner from Raw, and I do expect a winner from SmackDown in their King and Queen of the Ring. Where it all comes from, we'll have to wait and see. However, Io Sky does pick up a very impressive victory. It's a really good match, actually, between her and Shayna. Nice to see Shayna Baszler get a bit of time in the ring. She was an absolute monster in NXT and destroyed pretty much everybody in her way. When she moved up to the main roster, we've never really seen that side of Shayna Baszler for whatever reason. But it was good this week to see her flourish in a quite long-winded women's match, which is what she's been needed for a while. But the bigger talking point on this match is actually about another QR code from what we believe to be Uncle Howdy. Now, the QR code was quite weird on this one. It threw up a load of files. They all sort of had clues, but perhaps one of the most interesting clues of them all was a snippet of a woman who has apparently gone missing, or a local woman reported missing, by the name of Wendy Lucho. Now, why do I say that that's an important clue? Well, Wendy Lucho, if you unscramble those letters, or an anagram of Wendy Lucho, is Uncle Howdy. There's also one of the ones was a floppy disk. I think that was clue 20 or file 20, which says 4 p.m. or 4 on, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday on Twitch or Which. So we could get another reveal later on this week with Uncle Howdy. Now, speaking of Uncle Howdy, I did do two questions in a poll last week about Uncle Howdy and just give you a bit more information on those quick things. As a QR code led to the front door or a door which doesn't open. There was 20 JPEG images. Each one had a handwritten note or a potential clue. I did say about the missing woman about it. One of the other big clues was the floppy disk, which teases that something happened in his Thursday, according to my notes, 4 p.m., which we believe to be Eastern, so 9 a.m. UK time, on Twitch. So there's lots of also there as connecting Dexter Loomis, Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy, Bliss, Eric Rowan. Now, incidentally, Eric Rowan has been spotted at the Performance Center this week, training upon his return. So what we can say for kind of certain is that it's very, very close to the debut of the Wyatt family or the Wyatt Six, the new Wyatt family. Now, I did ask three questions. One was about Cody Rhodes, so we won't go there. We'll save that for the SmackDown Lowdown on Saturday when I record Saturday morning, not long after SmackDown goes off the air. But one of the questions I asked was, where do you see the Uncle Howdy faction being positioned on the card in WWE? And out of the votes that we had, 68% of you said that they would be mid-card. Now, if you remember on the SmackDown Lowdown, I did say that this, with the people involved, without being disrespectful, because Alexa Bliss wasn't really involved at that point. We understood that she wasn't going to be a part of the group. We don't know for certain what's going on with Alexa yet. And I said if Alexa wasn't there, the group screams mid-card. 26% of you said the main event, which possible, and only 6% said opening the show. So looks like a lot of you, and actually one of the guys on Twitter, Anat Malala, said mid-card to main event, so higher echelons of the main event. Yeah, I kind of agree with mid-card. It's difficult to see, and it kind of follows into my next question as the next question I asked you lovely folks in the world of social media, which was, who do you think the new Wyatt family or the Wyatt Six will target first? Now, I did only put a couple of names on the list, and this one was quite a close vote, actually. The ones I had on the list was Cody Rhodes, I had Judgment Day, and I had LA Knight, and then I had an other, and I got you to comment who thinks another. Now, this was quite close, quite a surprising one on this, with 38% saying that they're going to target, and that was the winning vote was LA Knight, which is quite surprising. He does have obviously a story with Bray Wyatt. It was Bray in the lights out match, or whatever you want to call it, the Royal Rumble, where Uncle Howdy did try and do a dive and missed at the end of the match. It was a special match, and forgive me, Captain Crunch or something like that match at the Royal Rumble. 32% said Judgment Day. Interesting, because they are a group. Judgment Day are a group full of men and women. Now we know that the Wyatt Six is meant to have men and women in the group as well, Nikki Cross and potentially Alexa Bliss. So that would be an interesting one. There's no real connection. The only connection with Bray Wyatt there would potentially be that Finn Balor was meant to have a match with Bray Wyatt that time at one of the pay-per-views where it was meant to be Sister Abigail, if you guys remember correctly. And that turned out it didn't happen. I think Wyatt maybe got COVID or something like that. And it ended up being AJ Styles and Finn Balor was going to be together at that point. Wyatt was injured, sorry, not COVID. That was before COVID times. 20%, interestingly enough of you, thought it was going to be Cody Rhodes, which is going to be interesting. That would be right into the main title picture. I'm not too sure about that, to be quite honest with you. I'm a bit skeptical as to whether they would feud straight with Cody. 10% of you said other. Now, I've only got a couple of comments because I did say other comment below, and to be fair, not many of you did actually. The one that voted for other, you didn't put who. So, but for the ones that did, one of them has said Jey Uso for the Fireflies. Now that's interesting because Jey Uso does have the sort of entrance now where the camera, you saw him at Backlash in France with the cameras going and all of that. It does become, well, it could become an interesting point that perhaps they believe that Jey Uso is trying to live off of Bray Wyatt. I'm not entirely sure that I agree with that one. But thank you. The Batman said so. A good name, but thank you for that. That was an interesting one. Static FPL said it's going to have to be Cody or COD 6, as you put there. But then you said that Cody and Logan has to end in a DQ and no finish. Reason for that is both titles, the US title and Cody's World Heavyweight title, are on the line at Killering. So that does make a bit of sense. Uh, so it's gonna, he said he doesn't, and the point being on this one is they're not sure that Logan would be around long enough to have a feud with, so that it'd have to be Cody. Now, another interesting one by Lawrence Lubbock on here, and thank you all for your comments, by the way. Very nice to be interacting with you guys a lot more on socials now, and you're responding quite well to this, so we'll keep it going. It actually says that it would Randy Orton would make a lot of sense. Now that would, if you that could be interesting. Obviously, Randy had a big feud with Bray Wyatt. It ended up in the was it the Firefly? It wasn't the Firefly. I think it was some sort of House of Horrors match, wasn't it? That they had, and Orton ended up burning the house to the ground, if I remember correctly. So that could happen, and it would be interesting if it did. I would be for that. Randy hasn't really had. I mean, he's embroiled in bloodline stuff at the minute, obviously, but he hasn't really had a feud much, really, since he's got back. Not a, what I would say, a full-on feud anyway. So could they target Randy Orton? Maybe. Maybe indeed. We'll have to wait and see. We shouldn't have to wait too much longer, though, I don't think, before it's all revealed. When do you think we will see Uncle Howdy? That's another good question that we may put to you guys. When do you think we will see Uncle Howdy appear? Or assuming it is Uncle Howdy. The other interesting, what we have forgotten a little bit is Matt Hardy. I know he's just signed to TNA, but he's only on a per appearance basis. Could Matt Hardy be a part of this group as well? We can't forget Matt. Interesting enough, Carlito was seemingly trying to edge, so we're changing the subject now. Forgot to say that. Carlito was trying to join the Judgment Day this week. He does have a hand in the Judgment Day becoming #1 contenders for the tag team championships again. And this time, the #1 contenders are Finn Balor and JD McDonough. And again, I'm leaning towards the fact that they could be kicking Damian Priest out of the Judgment Day and having Finn and JD potentially be Awesome Truth for the tag team titles. It could start the process of kicking Damien out. I'm not sure Carlito's really, a Judgment Day member. He's not really got that. I don't know about the character. His character isn't really Judgment Day material, if that makes sense for me. Anyway, I don't know about you guys. Perhaps you can comment on that. Maybe I'll ask a question about Carlito being in the Judgment Day. Who knows? Chad Gable has got a new attitude as well. We saw him on Raw this week, schooled Maxine Dupree. We saw him schooled Tozawa after losing to Bronson Reed, which is no mean feat. And also slap around Otis after Otis lost a very competitive match with Sami Zayn. Now, what I've been hearing about this is that they're trying to do something similar to what's happening, kind of funnily enough, in AEW with Wardlow. Obviously, that storyline's kind of died a death a little bit, but it will end up coming back soon. But with with Chad Gable and Otis, I think what they're going for here is for him to keep on, um, you know, goading Otis, keep slapping him around, and then Otis is just going to explode. And then it will be a full-fledged big baby face turn for Otis. I can't see Otis, main eventing or getting a world title or anything. But I think what will happen is it will be one of those ones where it will just be a build up over time. And eventually Otis will just snap and basically knock out Chad Gable. That's where I think that one's going in the future. But it's good to see Gable in a prominent heel role. I just want Gable to wrestle, though. He is a machine. We've said this on this show for nearly 2 years I've been doing this now with Andy and the team, that, Gable has been one of the top stars in wrestling. And I just think that, we need to just to see him wrestle. That's all I want every week. I just want to watch Gable in the ring wrestling because that's what he does best at the end of the day. Now, King of the Ring qualifying matches this week. Gunther defeated Kofi Kingston. That was a great match. And again, recently on WWE, not only are we seeing more matches, but we're seeing better match quality of those matches as well. I mean, he did make Kofi tap out to the Boston Crabs. Gunther goes on to the semi-finals, and he will take on the winner of Jey Uso and Ilya Dragunov, which we'll get into very, very shortly. That main evented Raw this week. Ilya Dragunov on one of his second showings, I think, main event in Raw. It caused a bit of controversy on socials, but I will tell you why I think the winner of that match was correct. However, that'll be another question that I pose to you guys. Was that the right outcome of the match? Well, we will wait and see when we get to it as well. But interestingly enough, on this, on Raw as well, a little while after Kofi lost to Gunther, he was confronted by Karrion Kross. And it looks as if Karrion Kross was trying to potentially say to Kofi that there is a route out of the New Day and to join his group. That is a really weird one for me, and it caught me off guard a little bit with Karrion Kross and Kofi Kingston. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of Kofi. Could he turn heel? I mean, is it? I mean, he was heel under the New Day, but that character was just goofy heel. There's a big difference to being goofy heel to being, a serious kind of evil heel, like the Authors of Pain and Karrion Kross actually are. So I'm very skeptical what, or if that's just a way of starting the next feud off with the New Day. Maybe the Authors of Pain, maybe I don't know, but it just caught me very, very much off guard. Good in a good way though, because it gave me a bit of intrigue on that one. And Karrion Kross and that hasn't had a lot of, I think again the bloodline on SmackDown, it's still very much center stage to this day. So with Karrion Kross and his new group, is he trying to recruit? Is he setting up for a trap? We'll have to wait till next week where I think we'll see a continuation of that. I mean, Xavier Woods kind of come in and prevented this from going any further with an ice pack for Kofi after Kofi lost the match. So, but very interesting that they're just kind of planted the seed a little bit there to perhaps Kofi turning heel. Be interesting. Becky Lynch was on Raw this week. Liv Morgan, she basically called Liv a bitch. There was a bit with, damage control on there as well, and Lara Valkyria. She's seeming to align herself with Becky Lynch, which is which is an interesting one for sure. I suppose Liv and Becky could have a match at King of Queen of the Ring. I don't know. Hasn't been announced officially, I don't think yet. But that would be very much interesting to see if that does happen. And incidentally, Lyra Valkyria took on Zoe Stark in the Queen of the Ring qualifying match. And again, another good, decently length women's match on Raw. It was very good. I very much enjoyed it. Valkyria picked up a win. So she will take on Io Sky, I believe, next week. I have the bracket, so we'll talk about it near the end. But Lyra Valkyria pinning the Zoe Stark, who's very impressive as well. But again, you have to. What I'm liking about the WWE at the minute, and especially with the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring, is it's got its sense of importance back. Like if you remember way back in the day when the WWE done it, Bret Hart won it. I think Billy Gunn might have won it because Triple H was meant to win it. He got in trouble with the curtain call. I think Billy Gunn won it. I know Mabel won it, but he didn't really do a lot of him. And then Steve Austin won it. And it felt as if it was dwindling. They brought it back. I mean, obviously Xavier Woods won it. Selena Vega won it, who was unfortunately pulled due to injury. She wasn't cleared to compete, so she didn't get the opportunity for Queen of the Ring this year, unfortunately. But it's got a sense of importance back. They even brung it back at live events because there was a list of matches, and some of the matches they didn't do on Raw, so they went and done it at house shows. And it also gave a sense of importance to the house shows, which is great because you go to the house show, Very rarely do you get a title change. Your 24/7 title may change 50 times during the night, but an important title would rarely change on a house show unless it was injury or something like that. They would generally save it for the main shows. So to have the King and Queen of the Ring qualifying matches on the house shows gave them an even more sense of importance and a big time feel to it. So very, 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 very well done, and kudos to the WWE for doing that. But the King and Queen of the Ring does feel like a big deal this year. I'm not sure whether the winners are going to go on to perhaps maybe get a title shot down the line. I don't know that. I know that hasn't been announced yet at all, but I would be very interested to see if that would happen going forward. If they do get, if the winners do get a title shot, I would like that. I think it would be interesting to see what happens there, especially with who's going to win it. It's very much an interesting time for whoever wins that. If they could potentially get a title shot down the line, maybe that's for Clash at the Castle. Or we'll have to wait and see. Becky Lynch did go and against actually Dakota Kai this week, and again another good women's match. This time it wasn't even King of the Ring, and Dakota Kai is someone I think is very underutilized in the WWE. You don't see a lot of her in Damage Control. It is mainly the Kabuki Warriors that you see nowadays, and obviously it was Io Sky as well, and it was Bailey for a period of time. But the Kabuki Warriors and Io Sky are definitely the forefront of Damage Control. But Dakota Kai has proven that she can go in this, and I really enjoyed this match. Becky Lynch is Becky. You'll always get that. Rumors are that Becky Lynch has actually re-signed. There was reports last week that she had about 3 weeks left on her current deal or something along those lines. But they have now said that she's quietly re-signed, but the WWE has yet to confirm that or yet to put it out there that she's re-signing. And I kind of think with Seth re-signing, it made a hell of a lot of sense. According to reports, both deals are less dates than normal, so they're getting a bit more of a rest. So Becky may drop this title very soon, and I think Becky may have only had this title obviously due to injury as well, so due to Rhea's injury. So I think that there was potentially she was meant to go on a break earlier, but they brought her back because of the injury. But nevertheless, she won by DQ on this. Liv Morgan getting involved again, so she hasn't finished at all on that one. But we'll see what happens. Liv and Becky will definitely come to blows at some point, which I'll be very much looking forward to. In there. We mentioned earlier on that the Judgment Day did win the #1 contenders match. It was match 7 on Raw. This was a fatal 4-way against New Catch Republic, the Author's Pain, the Creed brothers, and the Judgment. Again, a really good tag match. This, I'm looking. The reason why I'm looking forward to tag matches is the NWA are starting the Crockett Cup qualifiers this week on Power, and I really enjoy those. And the Crockett Cup is being recorded this weekend for the NWA. And so the tag teams have got a special place in my heart at the minute because of all of that. But yeah, the Judgment Day did win it. Carlito hit done with the backstabber on the announce table. And they with the coup de grace also picked up. Finn Balor hit the coup de grace for victory. The semi-finals of the King of the Ring will be next week and Queen of the Ring, well, the Raw side of things anyway. Sami Zayn will have Chad Gable next week on Raw. It's kind of what they've done before, but I'll be interested to see it. I always like this match. The main event was Jey Uso and Ilya Dragunov. Now, this has caused a lot of a stir on social media. Jey Uso beat Ilya Dragunov in what was a absolutely brilliant match, in my opinion. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Jey Uso, Ilya Dragunov, I think two of the most this year could have two of the best, could be really up there in terms of main event level, championship level. Ilya Dragunov has just been brilliant. Now, I get why people are upset. A lot of people wanted to see Ilya Dragunov versus Gunter. Ilya Dragunov was one of the other only few people to have, I think, tapped Gunter out in NXT UK and NXT, I think it was, sorry. So I get why people were having that, issue and why people think it wasn't the right idea. Here's one of the reasons why I think Jey Uso was the right man. Number one, he is at the moment the top merchandise seller in the WWE. Out of the top 10, he has free shirts out there in the top 10, only really close by CM Punk. So, he's making the WWE money. And if you're making the WWE money, you're in good hands. So I think there's that to it. But here's why I think also that Jey Uso, I even think next week will beat Gunter on Raw. So that's a match next week. And so is obviously Io Sky and I can't remember who the other one was now that got through. Sorry, Lyra Valkyria. Apologies. The reason why I think Jey Uso's making it to the final, and I hinted at it at the start of the show, Bloodline Civil War again. On SmackDown this week, it's Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton and Tama Tonga versus LA Knight. I have a feeling Tama Tonga beats LA Knight and beats Randy Orton next Friday in the semi-final and goes one-on-one with Jey Uso at King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring. And the reason why I think that, we're either going to get two things here. We are either going to see the debut of Jacob Fatu costing Jey Uso the match. Potentially, and I've just thought about this, why I've said Jacob Fatu potentially costing Jey Uso, and something that could go either way. We could also see Jimmy Uso return and cost Jey the King of the Ring, or we could see Jimmy Uso return and side with Jey after getting a beat down from perhaps even after winning King of the Ring. He gets beaten down. Out comes Jimmy to somewhat even the odds. Because number one, Jimmy has not been drafted yet either. So that does give the option of Jimmy Uso being eligible just to be on Raw and the Usos to get back together. It also kind of sets up what we could see down the line, a big bloodline civil war between bootleg bloodline and Roman when he gets back. Likewise, Jimmy Uso could cost Jey Uso the match and kind of side with Solo Sikoa, but I just don't see that. I think really Jey wins the King of the Ring, he gets attacked, and Jimmy Uso comes out. Or he gets attacked during it and Jimmy Uso comes out. However way I look at it, I think Jimmy Uso returns to WWE and sides with his brother Jey. Whether they get back together straight away or not on Raw is another thing. I think Jey's in the middle of a singles run at the minute, but I think having Jimmy by his side for this will be the touch paper to be lit for that returning pretty soon. On the women's side of things, like I've already mentioned, Io Sky will take on Lyra Akira. Now, this week on SmackDown, Bianca Belair takes on Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill takes on Nia Jax. Now, interesting about this is Bianca and Jade are the tag team champions. Are we set to see Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill in the semi-finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament? To be honest with you, without being disrespectful to the rest, I would have rather have seen Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in the final than have had them in the semi-final. If that's how it goes, Bianca Belair's got Tiffany Stratton. There's no guarantees she's beating Tiffany Stratton. And likewise, there's no guarantees Jade Cargill is beating Nia Jax. But I do personally think it's going to be interesting actually because Tiffany Stratton could also it fit Queen of the Ring kind of fits Tiffany's character more than it does Jade and Bianca, but I can't look. That's a difficult one. I kind of ruling Nia Jax out. So that is a really difficult one actually. Tiffany Stratton, I don't know. I was going to say I think it's either going to be Jade Cargill or Bianca Belair winning the Queen of the Ring, but could Tiffany Stratton nick it? I think they're going to want to go with a reasonably big main event on that. I'm going to give that to you guys. Lots of questions coming out this week on Raw. So we're going to ask you, when do you think Uncle Howdy debuts? That's going to be a good one for you. Do you think, obviously, that it was the right call in the main event between Jey and Ilya? Is Damian Priest turning face? And now, who's winning Queen of the Ring tournament? That's for you to decide. We'll have that, and we'll have that ready for Friday, Saturday, sorry, when we record the SmackDown Lowdown a few hours after SmackDown goes off the air. Guys, this has been a great Raw review. I've really enjoyed speaking to you guys about this week on Raw. We've got a lot of exciting, we've got a few interviews coming up as well. We do have we've announced it today, the RCWA Elite One champion Harry McDonald coming on. We also have an independent wrestler who took Cody Rhodes to the limit when he was in AEW, and that man is Warhorse, although he doesn't like the picture I put up of him, I think. So that'll be interesting. But guys, look, keep it locked on the channel. NWA review coming up tomorrow. Will be on Thursday, sorry. That will drop on Thursday for you guys. The Crockett Cup begins. Obviously, TNA Friday, you'll have that on the channel again Friday evening. The SmackDown Lowdown Saturday, and Gary Joe returns for another AEW week review as we head towards Double or Nothing. But guys, this has been the Raw review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for our viewing figures on YouTube. The watch hours are looking like we're going to hit a record month of watch hours on YouTube. I really do thank you for that. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and until next time, everybody, buckle down and stay safe.